What's up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be doing another Godzilla King of the Monsters news and updates. I'm not sure how many set visits we're going to make it through in this video, but we're going to try and cover a few of them at the very least. And we're not going to focus on one person or company in particular set visit. We're going to try and focus on a few of them so that we can make our way through all this stuff. Because again, as I've said in the previous videos, there's so much set visit news to talk about. Starting off, we're going to jump into the Conclusion.to END stuff. We didn't learn a lot, but we did learn some things. We learned, I guess you could say we learned, that Michael Dougherty has always been a Godzilla fan, but we've already known that, right? He's always been a huge Godzilla fan. Godzilla's roar will be much closer to what it was in the 1954 movie in this film. He likes the 2014 roar, but he's going to tweak it to make it more like the 54 roar. If I had to guess, he's probably going to put a little bit more of a bass onto it, so it's more like that 54 roar. And rather than having the ending trill that the 2014 roar had, it will probably end much more similar to the way the Godzilla's roar traditionally ends. Ghidorah will not be some Game of Thrones dragon in this movie. They wanted to make him very different from what Western audiences are used to seeing, which I really like that. Make sure that he's not Smog 2.0, make sure that he's his own thing. I like that. Edwards was consulted multiple times regarding this film over text and calls, and he even came to visit set, and Dougherty and Edwards worked kind of closely together for a very short period of time so that Gareth Edwards' vision can still be carried over into this film. I like that idea. They talked about how Jordan Vogt Roberts didn't really get to meet Michael Dougherty a lot. They talked a little bit during post-production for Kong, but they weren't really close buddies. As we know, since 2017 when this set visit happened, that has changed. It seems that all the MonsterVerse directors, all four of them now, kind of hang out, or at least that's what their Twitters would imply. They hang out frequent enough to where it seems like they are all a team, and it seems like they have one common goal in mind, which is really cool. The realistic camera placements will be carried over from the 2014 film, so we're not going to see any crazy CG floating camera. As Michael Dougherty says, every shot in the movie will be a shot that could have realistically been obtained by a crane, a helicopter, a person. Every shot in the movie could have been obtained by a real person. I do have to say though, I'm not sure if that's true. Watching the Godzilla King of the Monsters trailers again, you do get that. Almost every single shot you go, yeah. Very easily someone could have gotten that shot, and I love that. I love the sense of scale. I need more of that in Godzilla movies. That's great. And then you have that shot of Godzilla and Ghidorah charging at each other, and I go, nope, no way someone got that shot. Yeah, that was a CG floating camera right there. But either way, that's okay. As long as they did it for the majority of the movie, I'm all right with it. There were a few other Toho kaiju Michael Dougherty wanted to, quote, tip the hat to, end quote, but they are not actually going to happen in this film because he just doesn't have the rights to do that. I'd assume, like, oh, you know, that big spiky kaiju under the mountain, that's probably going to be an Anguirus reference, so it'll be like, yeah, it kind of looks like Anguirus, but it won't be Anguirus because they don't have the rights to him, and that's what I've been saying for, like, what, how many months now, and everyone's been saying, no, it's Anguirus, but it isn't. Things are coming full circle with Godzilla returning to his cinematic universe, and Michael Dougherty loves it. Godzilla started out the second cinematic universe of cinema history right after the Universal Monsters. His was the first with an overarching continuity, and so Godzilla returning to a cinematic universe after starting one in 1954 and ending it in 1974. Here we are decades later, and he's finally returning to a cinematic universe. It's pretty fitting. Let's jump into the JoBlo article / YouTube video. I'd actually go recommend checking out the YouTube video. He says at the end of the video that there's additional information on the article, but I went through both of them. I read the entire article and I listened to the video. There's not a difference between the two. Let's talk about the things we learned from the JoBlo article. There are several main characters in a plane that crashes in Outpost 32. Not sure what the deal with that is or how it crashes, but I guess a plane does crash in Outpost 32 at some point in the movie. I feel like it's not actually a crash that our characters are in. I feel like a plane crashes, sure, but I think our characters are actually going to be on an Osprey helicopter during all that. Monarch's underwater base is called Fathom in the new movie. That's awesome. I love that. It's super futuristic looking. Of course, Fathom, guys, was the name of the film. That's what they called it when they were filming on set. So that's a great name to have. That's like an in reference, right? Most people won't get that. That won't even be something that like people digging through for Easter eggs are gonna figure out, probably, because like you'd have to know the pre-production and the production aspect of this movie to get that. So that's a great. What do you call that? A reference? Or I don't know. It was a reference on set, and now we get to finally understand it. Really cool. There are lots of new Titans that have been located by Monarch on the map, so here are a few of them. This doesn't sound like it's going to be all of them. Sounds like there will be more in the movie, as we'll talk about in later set visits, and even the Monarch website would imply that there are multiple more kaiju on the map than what we have here. We have Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, Ghidorah, someone named Baphomet, which is a new kaiju. For those of you who don't know, and most people don't know, I had to look this up. Baphomet is a deity that the Knights Templar were falsely accused of worshipping. It's some sort of demon-like figure. The next one is Typhoon, which is a Japanese storm. Abaddon is the next one, which is a Hebrew term for this creature. It's also has a Greek equivalent called Apollon. It's, I guess, the realm of the dead. It's like a bottomless pit that takes you in, and sometimes in some religions it can take the form of a demon. Binyup is the next one. He is a large mythical Australian creature that lurks in swamps, like a big four-legged panther-like creature. Or maybe he's just a big four-legged hairy animal based on some drawings. I don't know. Methuselah is the next one, which is a biblical figure. It's the grandfather of Noah, the longest living person in the Bible. I'd assume that Methuselah will be the oldest kaiju on the map. If you haven't noticed, every single one of these has some sort of religious implications along with it. Every single one of these names, other than Typhoon. I guess if there could be a religious figure associated with Typhoon that I don't know about, but almost every one of those has some sort of religious association, and it's because Michael Dougherty wanted to heavily connect mythology with reality with the Titans. He wanted all the monsters in the new movie, which is actually why they're called Titans, is to draw them back to Greek mythology to make them seem like the things above gods. They are above gods. They are the Titans. That's what he wanted to draw it all back to. He wanted them all to be connected. You know, it's that whole idea of putting the god back in Godzilla, not in terms of making Godzilla more powerful or doing more justice to the characterization, but legitimately putting the god back in Godzilla, making Godzilla seem like a god in the new movie, making people worship him. So that's how all the Titans are going to be. And I'm still not a big fan of the term Titans. I appreciate it. I appreciate its significance. I just think that Mutos is a little cooler than Titans, and Kaiju is a much cooler term than either of those. Also, the final one that they had on the map that this guy talks about is our boy Kong. And like, you know, you talked about all these other ones. You got like deities of the Knights Templar, Japanese storms, Hebrew, religious stuff. What is Kong? Is that a monkey or something? I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out what this Kong guy is, what his deal is. Probably someone who could beat Godzilla in a fight. That's all I'm saying. Monarch is aware of this mysterious mercenary named Jonah Allen. That is Charles Dance's character in the new movie. It's good to have some confirmation on the character's name, although I totally am going to forget it in these next few videos, but his name is Jonah Allen, and he apparently wants to, quote, level the global playing field. Not sure what that means. Does that mean he just wants to wipe out human civilization? Could be. It also sounds like in a later set visit that we'll talk about, he has some more economic goals in mind in terms of leveling the global playing field. It sounds like he just wants to make a lot of money, but we will discuss later. Sounds like Dance is going to release Mothra from her outpost on accident. I think he's going there to kill her with the intent to use her body as bait to bait out Godzilla into the open so that Ghidorah can attack Godzilla, presumably. Either way, he wants to use Mothra as bait to catch Godzilla. That's all we know. It sounds like Mothra is going to escape. They're going to try and burn her, probably. We've seen that in the trailers, and she's going to get out of there. That's also, as we learned from the previous Toho Kingdom interviews, that's how the movie starts, is with this whole extended scene at Mothra's temple, and then these mercenaries led by Jonah Allen, they are going to storm the base. They're going to try and attack Mothra. They're going to try and, they do kidnap Emma Russell and Madison Russell, and that will be the intro to the movie. Sounds like Madison Russell will have some sort of weird connection with the Titans, said to be a connection with Godzilla, although this guy's article does sometimes get things wrong. Not his fault, though. It's just because the lack of information he was working with. I think it's actually a connection with Mothra that she has. I don't think it's going to be Godzilla. It could be Godzilla still. He could be right. There's always the potential that she touches Mothra and has some sort of psychic link with Mothra, and Mothra has a psychic link with Godzilla, and then they're all connected. Could be like a Gamera 3 kind of situation, or like a Gamera Heisei kind of situation. I don't know. Also, Allen will be after the device called the Orca, which is apparently confirmed to be a Jaws reference. However, we later on learn in another set visit that it sounds like he does get the device in this scene, so he's not actually searching for it, he does get it. Also, it turns out Mark Russell doesn't care about any of this. He just really doesn't. He's like, I'm not bothered by it. This guy can kill the Titans if he wants. I don't care. I just want my daughter back. That's his motivation in the movie, so it makes sense for his character. He wants the Titans dead, or at least he wants them out of the way, but he especially wants Godzilla dead. He's like, I hate that guy. And, you know, hashtag rest in peace, Little Russell. He has a reason. Mothra is viewed to be almost as powerful as a nuclear bomb. However, she won't use that powers for evil. Cool stuff. Rodan is potentially released before Ghidorah in this film, although I don't think that's actually going to happen. It just seems crazy to me that Rodan would be released first, and then we'd have our producers telling us that Ghidorah was about to fight Rodan when Rodan hatches, so Ghidorah is released first. Ghidorah is hinted to be an alien in this movie, which is cool. There's concept art for Rodan, Ghidorah, and Godzilla to all be in a three-way battle in Mexico, but I don't think that's going to happen in the film. I think it's going to be Rodan, Ghidorah, and Mothra. I think Godzilla was switched out with Mothra. Again, we have the quote here that this movie will be the Aliens to Gareth Edwards' Alien. It will be an ensemble cast, much more fun than Godzilla 2014, and it'll have a lot more action. The Mothra fairies are said to potentially make a cameo. Again, this comes up in almost every single Michael Dougherty interview. I think the Mothra fairies are going to be in the movie in some way, shape, or form. And the size is also a big point of contention. They're always like, well, I don't know how big I'm going to make them, but I want to put the fairies in. That's what Michael Dougherty's always saying. It's okay. You can make them whatever size you want. GMK had two normal-sized girls have an appearance that were kind of like a Mothra fairy tribute. And then, of course, you had Godzilla, the anime series, which had Mayan and Miana, who were both full-sized human beings, who had that connection with Mothra. They were the twins in that movie. I'd expect that probably the Mothra cameo in this film will be when Madison touches Mothra's head. She'll probably have a Planet Eater style flashback or vision, and then she'll communicate with the fairies. That'd be my guess. The new tone in this movie allows for some more fun moments than what you would have seen in the 2014 film, but it won't compromise the film's tone as a whole. It will add to it. It'll be some fun stuff. Also, Monarch is said to kind of be like the Avengers in that they are completely outmatched in their battles, but they have the noblest of intentions, and they are kind of like heroes. They're like heroes, but without the super part, so they're just heroes. This film's message will be, quote, how to heal the planet, end quote. So it's kind of like your good old Yoshimitsu Banno's Godzilla vs. Hedorah, although hopefully much more well done, because that movie's not good. G-Team will be working with Monarch, but it doesn't sound like they're actually the same thing. It sounds like G-Team is its own organization that's just partnered with Monarch, which is why in a previous video when we talked about the Argo jet, it sounds like it's going to be G-Team's jet that they allow Monarch to use. Also, Barnes will understand that Godzilla is more friend than foe, and so will Monarch. Monarch's going to understand that Godzilla's the good guy. Mark Russell will be the one that will need convincing. That's all we're going to cover for this one, guys. There is still so much more to talk about, but we don't have time for it in this one, so I'll leave you guys here. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. D-Man, out.